Welcome to Game Bird Spotlight, a production of the North American Game Bird Association, as we explore issues and ideas, information, and issues, said issues already, but ideas that are affecting our industry, things that we want to bring before our association and help us all to provide better game birds for the industry or to provide hunting experiences for the general population. So today I'm with Rob Sexton. I'm Peg Ballou, North American Game Bird Association President, and we are exploring something that's happening in less than 4 months. We have entered the fall season. We're seeing a migration. We're seeing a change in seasons as well as areas of impact of the avian influenza epidemic that is hitting our country. We're going to be dealing with that at our convention. Rob, the convention dates, do you happen to have them offhand? I know it's the beginning of February.
Right. So February 6th through the 8th is the convention. And of course, it's going to be taking place at the Astor Crown Plaza in the French Quarter of New Orleans, Louisiana.
And New Orleans, for Sam and I, bring us full cycle. When we were young and newly in Ohio, we attended the first NAGA convention in New Orleans. And it's exciting to be going back there again as president and to see where we've come as an industry and to see new concepts that we never even thought of back in 1987.
Well, I think we're going to talk about the agenda today, so there's lots of great information. But in terms of destinations, New Orleans has something for everybody. There's tons of history, great museums, plantations. Of course, you've got the riverfront and the bayou for that kind of thing, and of course, the hotel's right in the French Quarter for the crowd that likes that. So, honestly, there's something for everybody on the fun side. And then we've put together an agenda this year that I think is really meaningful and helpful to our members.
Very good. We, first of all, I want to say that our thoughts and prayers are with those who have been affected by the avian influenza that has broken off in several states. Our concern is for them and for being able to continue their livelihood. And along that line, we want to provide information, as we have in the past, on live stream, on our website in the archives, and in our magazine concerning avian influenza, how to handle it, how to prevent it, how to deal with it if it happens. So we're bringing some of those same concepts to our convention, right, Rob?
Absolutely. And one of the things I think is different than it was 6-7 years ago when we last had an outbreak of avian influenza in the country, is our hunting preserves have been impacted.
Yes.
So last time we were fortunate that nobody in the game bird industry got it, but our producers were all very cognizant of it, and they began to get ramped up and prepared. But most hunting preserves, I think, just didn't really think it touched them. And now we've learned it touches everybody in the game bird industry, right? So
right.
I think the first one to be impacted was a Long Island hunting preserve, right? And now we've had a hunting preserve in Idaho. So think about that, New York all the way to Idaho and in between. So our hunting preserves have now been forced to wake up to the reality of this thing. And so a lot of the topics we covered 7 years ago, we're covering again for their benefit, and we're 7 years later, we've learned a whole lot more.
That's right. Right. So avian influenza itself, will give an update at that point, look at some of the history, some of the things that we've been able to put into practice. In a recent health call, I was very encouraged about a situation where you had one farm and the other farm within 100 yards, but yet the second one hadn't broken out. So it is possible to keep yourself. It isn't just a foregone conclusion that if someone gets it, everybody's going to get it. That doesn't happen. And those are some of the thoughts that we will bring out and continue to bring out even before the convention.
Yeah, I think so. That's a great segue from you because one of the topics we want to highlight at the convention is we have a topic understanding the transmission of avian influenza, and we're very fortunate. We have Dr. Fred Dustin Clark from the University of Arkansas, who's an expert on this. And I think it'll be helpful for a lot of our folks to understand, what are the risk factors? How does this thing travel? How long does it live?
Mm-hmm.
What does it need to survive the disease, right?
Right. And
Because
it's not inevitable. We can do something.
right, right. And so, it's you do your best. What's the old saying? Plan for the worst. Right? You
Mm-hmm.
prepare,
Hope for the best.
hope for the best. There you go. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. So, you learn everything you can possibly learn, and the first thing you have to learn is how does this disease work? Because that gives you a chance. So, the latest information tells us that the uh, facility that's 100 yards from one that already has it is still clean. So that's very encouraging.
Yes.
Uh, on the other hand, we've got one that's a mile from another one that just broke and does have it. So this thing can move, but it's not a foregone conclusion to your point, and that's encouraging. So I think for starters, we want people to understand how the disease travels so they can do the best job they can, and frankly, let's just be honest, give yourself a fighting chance to prevent it.
Right. It's not magic and it's not inevitable. We
Right.
can do something, we can't do everything. So then what happens when bad things happen and you do end up getting it?
Yeah. Well,
Those
I think uh, one thing that we're going to cover in terms of prevention before we go into the bad news side, you know, all game bird businesses try to prevent pests and predators from getting into their pens, right? That's
right.
a foregone conclusion. But I don't think a lot of folks understand that that has a major connection to avian influenza also, right? So in addition to you don't want raccoons getting inside the pen because it kill your birds, you also don't want predators and pests getting inside your pens because they carry the disease,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so this disease has been found in owls, in other raptors.
Right.
It's been
In
found.
black-headed vultures that
Yes.
are everywhere in Ohio. We even have, the return to Hinckley every spring.
Yep. Yep. And so the raptor, the birds carry songbirds, right? It's been
Mm,
found in swallows and other songbirds. So, what you do to keep songbirds out of your feed, for example, those things matter. And then, of course, you got your vermin, and they carry the disease too. So, with regard to that, one of our presentations is going to cover pest control and predator control. Uh, and you want to do it anyway, but now
mm-hmm.
you had an added incentive for why you want to handle this properly on your farm or on your hunting club. Because if you don't, that could be an
That
entry
could
point for the
that could be
disease.
the vector that brings it in and
That's exactly
sets you
right.
back a year.
Yep. So that is, another presentation. This one's kind of a twofer. It 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 helps you prevent the disease, but it also helps you prevent loss anyway of birds, in your normal situation. So, uh, David Curtis with USDA APHIS will be doing that presentation for us. He works in the Louisiana office for APHIS, and so I think that's going to be a great presentation.
APHIS has been a touching point with our industry for a while as we've been dealing with indemnity values, the values of our birds, and I believe that's one of our topics as well.
It is, and it's a really critical one. So, you know, um, it's very important to establish good working relationships with APHIS because they impact our industry. They impact all livestock industries so
For
dramatically.
the uninitiated, give a two-sentence summary of what APHIS is.
So APHIS is an agency of the United States Department of Agriculture. Let's see, APHIS is Animal Plant and Health Inspection Service. So in terms of the poultry industry, that's the folks that that set the protocols that we have to live in, right? So for example, if you do get a disease, you may be eligible for indemnity, but in order to be eligible, you have to have a biosecurity plan, right? That's an example of an APHIS requirement. And so for the last few years, we've done quite a bit of education to our folks about the importance of a biosecurity plan.
Mm-hmm.
They oversee what happens when you get the disease. So I think, to plunge into this topic, if you do have a test, you test positive for AI, it'll be APHIS that'll be rolling in with personnel to assist in what happens next. And what happens next is the depopulation of all the birds in the affected area, followed by the disposal of all those birds, followed by disinfection. In order for you to get back into business, you have to accomplish all three of those things and then ultimately be certified as clean by APHIS, right? So they are, they're the big player government wise that you'll be dealing with in the event that you have an outbreak on your property. Specifically, you referenced indemnity. So if you have a biosecurity plan, then you should be eligible for indemnity payments in the unfortunate event that your place does come down with avian influenza. And so one of the topics that'll be at the convention will be a discussion of setting the values. In other words, how much are they going to pay you for your birds? And the current values are not where they should be. But we've been working with APHIS for the last 6 months to correct that.
Mm-hmm.
In the immediate crisis, they've been using information that we helped to compile for appeals. So folks who have been affected, they've been offered a certain value. It's been inadequate. They have filed an appeal, and NAGA has furnished information that's helped with those appeals. But there's bigger news that APHIS has asked NAGA to help them set indemnity values in the future on an annual basis. And this is a good development. So that presentation is going to talk about the process we've been going through to set indemnity values, so that you have an understanding of what you might get if the worst happens.
Okay. Well, so talking about what your birds are worth, in this strange year where we've had one farm with 140,000 birds affected, others with 500, 9,000, in a year when we were a little tight on birds anyway, how in the world do you go about setting your prices?
Yeah, that is such an important question. It's a question even bigger than avian influenza, right? So we all know that even if we weren't talking about that disease, uh, we're in a hyperinflationary environment right now, right? So labor costs are at historic highs. Uh, Feed costs are at a high right now. Certainly,
Fuel is going up.
yes. So
Yeah.
all those things, of course, eat into your bottom line. So how do you ensure profitability when you set your bird prices? And if you're not careful, you shortchange yourself, and you get to the end of the year and you realize that you've cut into your bottom line. And so it's very important to know the best way to factor in all those costs and set your bird prices adequately. I
Right.
think this is a great topic, and we're going to hear from several of our own members about how they've gone about doing that themselves,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and share that information. And Peg, we're all one community, so how you set your prices impacts how somebody else sets theirs also.
Right. And we've all seen the newcomer that comes in and says, I'm going to undercut everybody and I'm going to make my money and I'm going to set up my client base. And so they undercut you by a dollar or two. They get their clients and they're gone in 5 years because they can't make it.
Yeah, yeah.
It
So
doesn't work.
no, that's a short-term gain, but overall, you're not going to last in the business
Right.
if you're not making enough money to pay all your costs and have something left over. So that's going to be a great topic. and I think a lot of people will learn how to factor in all the costs and all the predictive costs, like what's going to happen in the future.
Oh, if we all had that crystal ball.
Yeah.
All right. So are all of the conference topics kind of heavy like this, or I know these are all very needed, but I heard that the convention was pretty fun. So what do we have for fun factor in this one?
Yeah. So that's that's really good observation. Everything we've talked about so far in this show has been sort of the really hardcore stuff. Stuff that
Hey, we
important.
need it.
Yep, we need it, but it's also important to loosen up a little bit. So we have a treat coming to our convention this year. It's actually a repeat performance for some of our members, right? So this past summer, we did the very first conference
Yes.
specifically for our hunting clubs.
Yes.
And one of our guests is Master Chef Alfonso Constricani. And I hope I didn't butcher his name too bad, but Chef Alfonso,
Hey,
as
it's
he's known.
Italian. You say
Yes.
it fast enough, All right.
So, Chef Alfonso is a real treat. He and his sidekick, Otto Borsich, did a cooking demonstration for us at the Hunting Club conference. That was one of the highlights.
Right. And in fact, if viewers want to see some of this, there is another live stream showing that presentation. But no matter how good that recording is, it was 10 times better in person. Plus, we got to eat it. It was wonderful.
Yeah, you know what? I have to admit, every time I've cooked pheasant since then, I haven't been able to measure up to Chef Alfonso, but I can at least up my game, right? So
That's right.
he did a great. He and Otto, informative. He teach you how to cook better, but also fun. It was just a really fun presentation, and in a convention where we're going to talk about a lot of heavy topics, it'll be fun to loosen up and have a little bit of fun with each other. And just like you said with the Hunting Club conference, if you come to this convention and you see Chef Alfonso, you're going to get to sample some of his cooking.
Oh, yes. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. We also had another speaker that I super enjoyed, who was Merle Heckman from the Dale Carnegie course, the Dale Carnegie teaching. And rumor has it he's going to be back.
He will. In fact, he was after the Hunting Club conference. He made a very long presentation that really just kept everybody heavily engaged. It was so good. After the conference, we did a survey asking the attendees what they liked the most about the conference, and Merle polled overwhelmingly as the most popular presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've asked Merle to come back with a new presentation, and this topic is going to be real interesting, right? In terms of professional development, we all have to deal with customers, right?
Right.
Merle's topic is how to disagree agreeably.
I think that's one that everybody in the industry needs. When we get together, you've mentioned previously about other organizations where the board all comes from different areas, but yet they need to get along for that. Yeah. And this organization is compiled of a bunch of mavericks. Think about it. We wouldn't be doing what we were going to do if we weren't independent, hard driving, opinionated people. Absolutely. And so then we get together with other hard driving, opinionated people, and my opinion and your opinion. How do we disagree but do that agreeably? Yeah, wonderful topic.
I think it's a great topic. It's obviously good, as you point out, for the relationships within our organization. But boy, I think it translates far beyond that, right?
That's right.
I mean, gosh,
dealing with customers.
Yes.
None of us have opinionated, disagreeable customers, I'm sure.
No, or difficult employer relationships,
right?
Or suppliers. We all have to work with people. I mean, if we're being honest, this is a presentation that I think many Americans could value right now, because it just seems like in our country we just can't disagree without just really feeling like the other.
It becomes a personal attack. Yeah, it becomes a racist or a sexual thing. We got to get beyond that and just deal with an issue.
Yep. And so we're be glad to have Merle back. And so he'll be another presentation that's not spot on point, with some uh, a dreaded issue like avian influenza, but in this case, very useful. I think sometimes we don't take enough time to sharpen our skills, and
Mhm.
certainly we're in the customer business, and how to disagree uh, agreeably is a great topic, and I know Merle's going to do a good job with that.
I think that's one point that a lot of our members miss is that we're not just raising game birds. We're dealing with friendships and relationships. People don't just buy birds, they buy because of a relationship. And all of these things with the Dale Carnegie course are relationship building skills that we can immediately apply.
Yeah, they sure are. And from the hunting club point of view, I mean, we're in the hospitality business.
Right.
We're in the entertainment business. And so you've got to be able to have good interpersonal skills so you avoid the potholes of a disagreeable situation, right? And so I think it's a great presentation, and not everything has to be about feed prices or brooder barns and that sort of thing. Sometimes we need to just work on our personal development, and that's one of the things that Merle's going to bring to this conference.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. All right. Registering for this convention has never been easier. We have our new website out. The registration is on our website, and you not only can join the North American Game Bird Association on this website, scrolling below in my high-tech scrolling, but we can also get your registration for that on the website.
Yeah, the website just went live with convention registration, so you can get registered. If you are an exhibitor or someone wants to show off your wares, you've got a product that you'd like our people to see, you can register as a vendor on the website. And there are also sponsorship opportunities. And we've also got um, a registration cost for spouses or family members who accompany you. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they may not want to attend the meetings, but they'd like to come to the social functions like the early bird reception or the lunches.
Or
Uh,
the banquet
yes,
on Wednesday evening where we have a live auction.
yep, live auction, silent auction. Of course, that's the night when we show appreciation. We give awards out to folks who have given exemplary service to the game bird business. So
Mm-hmm.
look, we're going to be in a great town. We're going to be in a great hotel, and we've got a really jam-packed agenda. I think if you have not been to the NAGA convention for a while, this would be a great time to get back in. It's located centrally in the United States, so really just about anybody could attend.
Quite a few flights go into New Orleans and should make it more economical to get there.
Yep. Yep, and I anticipate some will drive. A lot of our membership is in the central part of the country. They might just make
Mm-hmm.
the drive. So I think we've chosen a good location for someone who'd like to test fire coming to the convention for the first time.
Right.
So uh, I hope that this will spur people. Registration has just started. I think we probably have about a half a dozen registered just in the last couple of days. So it's time to register.
Wonderful. Rob, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add before we close?
Yeah, I think one other last convention thing. So each year with the hotel that we use, we ask them to extend a few days before and a few days after the convention. We ask them to extend our special conference hotel rate. And the Astor Crown Plaza in the French Quarter has done that, but those rooms are on a limited basis. There's not as many of those as there is during the heart of the conference. So if this is the convention that you're going to come to and come early or stay late and get to see
Mm-hmm.
some of those sites, you need to get that done quickly. So, uh, book your rooms as soon as you're ready to, so you can take advantage of that particular treat.
Wonderful. I know, all right, dating ourselves, we had our third daughter with us. She was 8 months old. The hotel that we stayed at way back in the dark ages really allowed me to be there, to be part of things, to understand a little more of the industry. We took a carriage ride. We visited the linen shops and the flavor of New Orleans. It was a really good time.
Yeah.
Very good
Yeah.
time. We would make our NAGA conventions a family vacation and do just what you said, extend a few days before, a few days after. We would make it a time when the kids got to meet other people within the industry. And now we have two of our children continuing our business that already know people. It's not like they have to start from scratch.
No,
So it's
that's
a
right.
very good way to involve your kids in what you do.
Yeah, that's right. Especially because in our organization's case, our kids have become the current owners,
Right.
or our current owners are the grandkids of the original owners, right?
Right.
So
Many,
it
many multi-generational farms
yeah.
continuing this. Also, when I first started as editor back in 2013, I came up with a very interesting uh, statistic that 80% of the businesses that fail are not members of their trade association. Can you imagine being a pig farmer and not being a part of the pig association, or the incredible edible egg, campaign to help the layers and others that are all across the country? We are the trade association for people who raise game birds,
Yeah.
pheasants, chukars, quail, partridge, and we're working hard to bring your issues before government agencies. There's many things going in the background that we're not going to cover here, but the value of this organization to anybody who raises game birds is incredible. We don't do a good enough job blowing our own horn, I'm afraid.
Well, and it's really important that we grow an association, because when crises happen, government pays more attention to the bigger fish. And so it's important that we grow this association. So, if this Game Bird Spotlight finds itself in front of someone who's not an NAGA member, I want to encourage you to become a member, become a part of the solution, and a part of our team effort to defend the entire industry.
Couldn't have said it better. Rob, thank you for being with us today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, viewers, for joining us. And with that, we'll close out.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.